Alright guys, hope you're doing well. My name is Rowlands, I'm a nutritional balancing practitioner, and in this video I'm going to talk about some of the unusual abilities that I have developed while on a nutritional balancing program. I don't really like talking about this too much, to be fair, because it can come across as being a bit arrogant or better than other people and all that kind of stuff, and I don't really want to come across as that type of person. But I do believe that a lot of people kind of put down a nutritional balancing program for whatever reason, and one of the arguments that I like to present is that this program seems to develop people in unusual ways. And it's quite clear if you read Dr. Wilson's website and speak to Dr. Wilson that he is a very highly developed person. And what I mean by that is that humans, in my opinion, have other abilities that are kind of squashed a little bit because we're not pure within our energy, we're not pure within our vibration. And it seems to me that Dr. Wilson's managed to create a program that actually opens up these abilities, and that's what I like to present to people. And when people come to me and say things, I say, well, how can you be so developed? How can you get in all these abilities if the program was rubbish or all that kind of stuff? And I put it out there, if you know a program that develops these abilities, then please let me know, and I'll genuinely be the first one to go and study it and research it, because I think it's a key factor in healing, and it's one of the reasons why we recommend meat. We find that eating meat tends to open these abilities up quicker. I just did a video on veganism and vegetarianism, and there's a few people that kind of, send comments about how you shouldn't eat meat, etc., etc. And I'll say to them, people, if you know a vegan or vegetarian program that allows these abilities, these natural human abilities to evolve and develop, please let me know, and I'll be the first one to check it out. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to try and go through, if I can remember, kind of my abilities from when I first started the program to my abilities now. You'll notice that my abilities now are pretty incredible. So please kind of stay with the video a little bit, and you'll kind of start to see a progression in power, which I find quite astounding. Alright, so first of all, the first thing that I noticed is, and I think I was quite lucky, is that I could feel the energy of the pushing down exercise from day one. What was interesting for me is that I had and the energy was coming out of my third eye when I was doing the program, and it was pushing upwards. It was like sucking the energy out of my head, and it kind of, it goes with the theory of that people's energy are upwards when they're quite yin, when they're not feeling good, etc., etc. And I mean, I could actually feel that when I was doing the pushing down exercise, I could not push it down whatsoever. It was as if the energy was just coming out of my third eye, and the best way to describe it was if you had a toilet plunger and you was kind of sucking the energy like out from my head, and that was pretty intense straight away. Obviously that's not an ability that I developed on the program. It's not even a bit, maybe it's not even an ability at all. I think I'm just fortunate at the fact that I'm able to feel that energy, that chi, from day one. I don't know why. Maybe it was some sort of soul evolution, or my soul's a little bit more advanced or whatever. I've got no idea. It doesn't really matter. But that's the first thing. But I started to slowly be able to work with this energy, and time after time after time of practice, I was able to move this energy downwards. So that's a testament to me that, one, the energy is real. Two, if you can focus on it, you can actually change the energy's direction. So for me now, the energy just goes straight down my body, and I can feel it go all the way down to my toes and into the ground. It's quite a nice feeling. So that's kind of the first thing that happened to me. Around 1.5 to 2 years into the program, I started to feel my chakras start to open and spin. Now, in the beginning, they was not spinning properly. They was kind of all over the place, and I could feel, each one. Mainly, which one's going to feel the most? I could feel my throat one pretty well. I could feel my third eye pretty well, my heart pretty well, but it wasn't spinning correctly. It was kind of going in this weird shape. I think that's when I first started to realise that wow, Dr. Wilson is onto something with the whole energy stuff. In the beginning I wasn't too bothered about it. All I was bothered about was healing, because I felt so bad. But I remember when I started feeling the energy and chakras, that's when I started to get more interested in God and spirituality and spirit and all that kind of stuff, because I'm like, wow, I can actually feel this sort of stuff. There was times in my meditation, a lot around, this is about 1.5 years in, a few months after that, when I was meditating a lot and my heart chakra started to burst open. It kind of burst open to a point where I could feel the edges of the room when I was meditating. That was pretty weird and a pretty powerful thing to happen to me. I used to get pain in like my solar plexus and stuff. That's usually what happens when your energy centers are healing. You'll get pains. So I used to get pain in my solar plexus. I used to get pain in my third eye. So that's a sign that your energy centers are starting to heal, are starting to open. As time went on, I started to feel the finer energy centers. So there's not only 7 chakras, there's not only 7 energy centers, there's a lot of finer ones. I think there's 3 near the heart. I start to feel these ones spinning. I start to feel them spinning in my wrists and in my feet. And generally what I found is that if I stop doing the program, or sometimes, like everyone does, they'll cheat for whatever reason, feeling bad about themselves, I would notice that I would not be able to feel my chakras as well. Until I regained that energy, regained that power, and that's when my chakras started to spin again. So I'd say we're around 2.5 years into the program at this point. And then something really weird happened to me. I went for a big copper detox, and I was really struggling. And I was praying to God. I didn't really believe in God at this time, but I was like, I've got no other choice but to pray to God. I was on my own in the middle of Thailand, and then all of a sudden I saw 3 angels, the outlines of 3 angels in my room. It was really bizarre, and the angels kind of hovered down and hugged me, and all of a sudden my symptoms just disappeared. They came back the next day, but I wasn't sleeping, and then I just fell asleep, for the first time in like, I think a few days. So this is, I'm not talking about my abilities here, but this is more of a connection to the higher nature, I suppose. Maybe I was open to seeing them for whatever reason. Around that similar point, when I was having a massive copper detox, I had a weird experience when I remember going into a lake because I was just feeling so bad that I was detoxing so much copper. I went into the lake and I was crying and crying and crying. Saying that I love you to my parents for whatever reason. I think I was retracing some parental stuff. And again, my heart chakra burst open, but in this point, I didn't feel like it. I could feel the edges of the room. I literally felt like it reverberated around the whole earth. It was so powerful. It kind of hit me back a little bit like Iron Man, when he's got his like little power ball in the middle of his chest. It was as if that exploded, and after that I just collapsed next to a tree, and I think I fell asleep, whatever. I was in a bad state, and I woke up delirious, like what the hell just happened. So that was interesting. So at this point, I think what I'm doing is I'm developing energy. I'm having experiences with the spiritual world. So I'm not really necessarily got abilities, but I seem to be kind of gathering firewood for me to have abilities or whatever. Luckily, I had the ability of being able to push energy down, which was very, very special for me, because I know a lot of people struggle with that. So I was very fortunate for that. And then other things started to happen. I started to believe more in God. And I started to believe that we were co-creators of our own lives. So what I would tend to do in the morning, I would meditate, and then I would ask a question. For example, there was one time when I was having a difficult time in London. I was back in England at this time. And I said to God, put me in touch with someone today, God, that's going to help me out with believing in you. Just a random thing, I had set that intention. And then later on in the day, I saw a guy on the tube playing with his cards. I asked him to do a magic trick for me. He showed me a magic trick, and all of a sudden he just started talking to me about Jesus and the Bible and how he'd come from a hard place, a difficult background. And now all he does is he goes around London sharing smiles, talking about God, talking about Jesus. And we had a really weird connection, we had a great connection. He took down my name, he took down my number, he took a couple of pictures. And around 3 or 4 days later, I got a Bible in the post from this guy with a note saying, thanks for connecting, it was beautiful, here's a Bible, please try and find Jesus, try and find God. And yeah, I mean, that was pretty insane, you know, just that intention. That happens to me a lot, whereby I'll have a thought, I'll have a question, I'll put it out there to the universe and I'll get it back pretty instantly, whether it comes with a person, whether it comes in the form of an article, a video, an intuition. That's something that I'm really good at the moment, is because we're co-creators of our lives, because the law of attraction, if I put a thought out there, a question that I want to get answered, I'll get it within a few hours to a day or two. So that's what started to happen around year 3, year 4, probably around year 4 now, is I could set an intention and get the answer back pretty quick, which was pretty special. I had other similar experiences. I speak about it in a video called Getting Connected to God, where I had another experience with a key ring and an ex-girlfriend. I'm not going to go into that too much, to be honest, because that's a long story. So if you want to hear them 2 stories, search on YouTube or search my YouTube channel, Rowlands, Feeling More Connected to God. I think it's brackets, whatever that means to you, something like that. Go and check that out. That's pretty powerful. So the next thing that started to happen to me is that I seem to have been building up this idea of truth. I seem to be living truth. The pushing down exercise is truth. I seem to be more integral and living by the truth. And what started to happen is I would sit in a room with people and I would just push down. And I could sense the people around me were feeling off and weird. And what I was doing, just by pushing truth down into me, I was making the people in the room question the way that they live, the way that they think, and their ideas of truth. It was a really weird thing. I know this happens to Luke as well. You when you sit and push down, the truth is coming into you so powerfully that it just makes another person all of a sudden just feel weird. And because they're surrounded by this energy of truth, you can see that they start to question things, and they'll come to me afterwards and they'll say, "Whoa, what was you doing there? I've started to think differently. I can feel a different vibe," all that kind of stuff. That's kind of small what started to happen recently, but I can see how that was the beginnings of more power that I was going to be able to get in the future. By this point, the pushing down exercise was getting to a point where it was starting to realign my structure. So when I do the pushing down exercise, my vertebrae in my spine start to shiver. That's because I'm pushing energy down, and it's starting to realign the bones in my jaw. Before it wasn't doing that, it was just energy. But now, you know, if I've got a misalignment in my shoulder or in my vertebrae or in my hips, I can feel the energy trying to deal with that, which was quite interesting to note. And by this point, the pushing down exercise was getting to a point now where I was getting insights and knowledge and wisdom and downloads, visions, even a sort of language at this point. We're talking 4.5, 5 years down the line. Every time I did the pushing down exercise, I would get insights and visions, and everything I've done in my business, every decision I've made in a relationship, every decision I've made in a friend, has all come from these insights. They're really powerful insights that seem to change my world quite drastically. It's one of the reasons why I think, like, I live a life at the moment that's quite integral, that everything's very, very balanced, and I know that the people around me can see that, but I also know that people around me kind of struggle with the balance of life, in terms of finance, in terms of job, in terms of food, in terms of looking after yourself, all that kind of stuff. It's all very balanced for me at the moment, and I have to genuinely admit it all comes from getting insights and understanding from the pushing down exercise, which is very, very fascinating. It's as if God or the universe just gives me an idea and I'm like, oh, that's what I need to do, and I do it, and actually I find out in the future that what I've done is part in the Bible, or it's in this, or it's in that, and it's like it just comes intuitively for me, which I find quite fascinating. Ideas on relationships, on how to live, visions on where I should be, where I should go, and then it'll come up in my life. Or you know, I had a little vision a couple of weeks back about being in Thailand on a beach, and then all of a sudden my flatmate was like, I can't remember what he said. He says, "Oh, I've been thinking about getting away for somewhere," and I said something like, "Oh, it's weird because I just had a vision about that when I was meditating like half an hour before." He was like, "Where was you thinking about?" I was like, "Thailand." He was like, "Whoa, I was thinking about Thailand too." Like, and then he said to me, "Whereabouts in Thailand?" And I says, "I was on one of the islands in Thailand." He's like, "Oh, which island was you on? Can you remember?" And it took me a while, and I was like, "Oh, it's Koh Phi Phi." And he was like, "Wow, I've written down Koh Phi Phi on this notebook of mine." So stuff like that happens quite a lot. He was quite inspired by that. Now I don't really know whether I want to tell you about this one, but I'm going to tell you anyway because it's probably one of the most profound things that's ever happened to me. Around 5 years down the line, I had a girlfriend, and I was getting quite good at the pushing down exercise at this point. And I read once in a book about a guy who basically gave his partner a sexual experience while in meditation, and I just didn't think it was real, you know, whatever. But I thought, you know, I'll give it a go, and I was meditating on, bearing in mind that the partner that I was with lived in another country, thousands and thousands of miles away. And I thought, I'll give it a go, and I meditated and I visualised giving my partner a sexual experience. I didn't think it would work. Anyway, I was speaking to my partner about 5 hours later, and she said, "You never guess what happened to me today." I says, "What?" She says, "I was walking to university," and bearing in mind my girlfriend was a very conservative kind of woman, very respected herself a lot and was very grounded. You know, she obviously doesn't do this very often. She was like, "Oh, I was walking to university today, and then all of a sudden I started to have an orgasm." And I was like, and she's like, it was the most bizarre thing ever. She didn't make it to university. She had to go back home. And I said to her, "Oh, what time was it?" And she told me the time, and it was the exact time when I was meditating. So that was pretty insane that I managed to do that. That just goes to show how connected we are on one level. Also, at the same point, when I first met this girl, I started to feel a sensation in my heart that I later figured out was actually guidance. This heart sensation started when I first met this partner. For whatever reason, I think we must have been soul sisters or soul brothers, soul mates, whatever. We're not together now, but I can still feel the sensation. And she also felt the sensation as well, exact time. And this sensation was really beautiful because it was like an alert of certain things. I learnt to understand how it worked more and more and more as time went on. But when I felt into it, I knew when she was awake, when she was waking up. I knew when she was thinking about me. I knew when she was sad. I knew when she was going to bed. I could feel it. It was different sensations that I could feel. When I actually split, and I could verify this over and over and over. It got to a point where I could be with my friends and say, "Oh, you know, she's going to message me in 5 seconds, and she'll message me." I mean, because I could feel it in my heart. You know, she was thinking about me. She was putting the vibration out there, and we were so close on an energetic level that it actually manifested in me in this sensation in my heart, which was quite beautiful. We split up. The heart sensation kept on going, but it seemed to come from a different source. So whenever I was thinking about something good, whenever I had an idea or an insight, I would get the sensation in my heart, and it was as if something was saying that's good. Often I would not even think about the heart, and I would just be thinking about something that I want to do, and I would get like a yes in my heart. I could feel it. Really beautiful, really nice. By this point, my intuition started getting really powerful. We're talking like 5.5 years in, whereby I could look at a person and I could tell what's wrong with them, if they've got spirits attached to them, if they're a good partner, the way that they think. And you'll notice that when I speak to clients in my nutritional balancing program, I'll just feel into them, and usually I can figure out what's going off and just feel how they're feeling, which is an interesting thing. A lot of it's to do with understanding people more, and I've got much more knowledge about how people think and how people interact. But there's been many a times with my friends, for example, my girlfriends, and when they've been getting into relationships with guys, I would pick up on the energy of the guy, I would understand them, I would be able to see whether they've got any spirits attached to them and the type of person they are, and I'll usually say to them, I don't think this person's good, and it turns out that they turn out to be the exact same person that I would usually kind of present to them, which is interesting. So this is probably the most powerful thing that's happened to me recently, and this has really, really astounded me to a point where I don't know what's changed recently, but I seem to have developed this ability that's quite powerful. So basically what happens with this new ability is that I'll be speaking to someone, and often we'll be speaking about the program or God or something like that, and then all of a sudden I'll get a feeling, a bodily energetic sensation, and it's like a sensation that something's about to erupt, something's about to happen. Now what's interesting is the person sat next to me will also start to feel this sensation, and I'll say to them, are you feeling hot? They say yes. I say, are you feeling tingling in your hands? They say yes. I say, are you getting tingling running back up the back of your head? They'll say yes. And then I'll say, are you getting heart palpitations? They'll say yes. I know that God or the universe is about to make a big shift or transition in their life, and I've been put into place to hold the space for them, to guide them through it. So basically they've come into contact with me because they're ready for an experience, a trauma release or an experience with God or the universe, and I'm there to support that. Because they can't do it by themselves. God uses me as like an energy to run through, and he also uses me because I've seemed to have got enough power, enough integrity, enough knowledge now to be able to guide this person through whatever experience is going to come up. So anyway, after that they'll have an experience. So I had one person who went for a trauma release, a massive trauma release actually, and she had massive connections with God and the universe, and it was just hitting over and over and over and over again. I had to spend every day on the phone with her, explaining her through things, explaining her through the trauma, dealing with things, talking her through it. It lasted for about 3 weeks. There was at points she had but she felt like amazing, powerful beings and all this kind of stuff, and I was just calmly talking her through it. Afterwards she said that it was the most amazing thing she's ever experienced, and she was utterly grateful for the advice. She says, I wouldn't have been able to do it without you being there. And I know that I think that's what God does, is he puts certain people into place when a person's ready to experience something that they need to experience, but without someone quite knowledgeable and fairly grounded to help them through it, they would have a difficult time indeed. Similar thing happened to another friend a few days back. The same sensation, so I know what's going off now. It's just got to a point where I'm basically saying to the other person, right, I know this is going to sound weird, but you're going to go through a powerful reaction in a minute. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm here for you, I love you, and I'm going to guide you through it. So this particular friend had that reaction. I told her to go for a walk, and all of a sudden she started getting messages from a tree and some spiders, whatever. What it meant something to her, it didn't really mean something to me. That's what's beautiful. It's God's healing. It's not really mine. I'm just kind of a catalyst. And then we was driving home in the car, and she was just getting hit by image after image and landscapes, and just crying and crying and crying because she was connected to God. And there was music coming through on the radio that was speaking to her. And it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I've never really been in a position where I've managed to be able to see that from an outside perspective. It's always kind of happened to me in a sense, but this time it's as if I've got a certain ability to be able to see that happen in other people and be there to support them, which was super nice and super beautiful. And this person also is, her ego is getting broke down as we speak, and yeah, I'm guiding her through it and helping her through it because she's awakened another step above. So that's basically where I'm at the moment. It's pretty interesting. After that previous one, that really took me back. I was like, wow, these abilities are getting pretty insane now. I went out into the lake and asked God, I says, what's going off, God? and the message that I got back was stop searching. The message I got back was pretty much stop searching for me, Lewis, anymore. Stop searching for me. You found me. You found me already. Stop looking for these enlightened experiences. You've had the experiences. You know who I am. And what I'm going to do at the moment is I'm going to use you to aid other people by bringing up what they need to experience in the moment, and you're going to be there for me to move my energy through you into them, and also for you to be there grounded and help them through any difficulties that they're going to have. Because, and you know, a similar thing happened to me in Thailand. My experience of detox was so powerful that I needed an absolute rock to help guide me through it, and the practitioner that I live with in Thailand aided me to do that. And I know deep down that God put me in touch with that person because I had so many traumas that when I started to regress what I need to regress, there needed to be someone really strong and powerful there for me as well. So that's it. That's basically what's happened. Take it as you wish. I'm telling the truth. That is the honest truth of what's been going off with me recently. As I say, it's one of the benefits, I suppose, of doing a nutrition balancing program. You know, for anyone that has any doubts and tries to pull it down for whatever reason, please, if you know any program or people that have the same experiences that seem to be evolving as they move through their healing program, then I'd love to hear it. So that's everything. Thanks for watching, and if you want to email me and start the nutrition balancing program, please email Lewis, Lewis at deephealingspace.com, and I'll chat to you soon. Ciao.